The process server's knock echoed through my office like a death sentence. As I stared at the divorce papers in my trembling hands, one question burned through my mind. How did it all fall apart so spectacularly? 3 months ago, I thought I had everything under control. I thought Simon would never find out. I thought I deserved better than my boring husband who'd given me everything, including my citizenship. But standing there, watching my carefully constructed lies crumble, I realized I'd been playing a game I was destined to lose. Before we dive deeper into this story, I have one small request. Please subscribe, drop a like, comment and hit that hype button to boost this channel so more people can discover these incredible stories. The birthday dinner at Bistro was supposed to be perfect. Simon had booked our usual table by the window, the one with the view of downtown's twinkling lights. I'd spent 2 hours getting ready, choosing the red dress that hugged my curves just right. At 34, I still turned heads, and tonight, I wanted to feel alive again. "Happy birthday, buddy." Kellen Drake's voice boomed across the restaurant as he approached our table. Simon's old college friend looked good, really good. His divorce had been finalized just last month, and the freedom suited him. His smile was infectious, his laugh genuine, and when he hugged me hello, his hand lingered just a moment too long on my lower back. "Evie, you look absolutely stunning," Kellen said, his eyes drinking me in. "Simon's a lucky man." My husband's jaw tightened almost imperceptibly. "Thanks for coming, Kellen. Have a seat." Simon's mother Helen had insisted on joining us, along with his father Martin. The older woman's sharp eyes missed nothing, and I felt her disapproving gaze as Kellen pulled his chair closer to mine than necessary. "So, Evee," Kellen said, leaning in conspiratorially, "still working at Morrison and Associates?" "Yes, still managing the chaos," I laughed, touching his arm playfully. "Though some days I wonder if there's more to life than filing reports and scheduling meetings." Helen's fork clinked against her plate. "Some people find fulfillment in stability and family," she said pointedly. I forced a smile. "Of course. I'm grateful for everything Simon has given me. The green card, this life." The words tasted hollow in my mouth. Throughout dinner, Kellen regaled us with stories from his new bachelor life. He traveled for work now, stayed in nice hotels, ate at fancy restaurants. His life sounded exciting, unpredictable, everything mine wasn't. When he mentioned his recent trip to Miami, his hand found my knee under the table. "You should come with me sometime," he said, his voice low. "Both of you, of course. Though I bet Evie would love the nightlife there." Simon's knuckles were white around his water glass. "Evie's not much of a traveler." "Really?" Kellen's eyebrows shot up. "I would have guessed the opposite. You seem like someone who craves adventure." Heat flushed through me. When was the last time someone had seen me as adventurous? Simon saw me as his grateful immigrant wife, the woman who owed him everything, but Kellen saw possibility. "I do love new experiences," I said, my voice breathier than intended. Helen cleared her throat loudly. "Martin, didn't you want to tell Simon about the Hendersons' anniversary party?" The conversation shifted, but Kellen's attention remained fixed on me. He complimented my earrings, asked about my weekend plans, and somehow managed to brush against my hand every time he reached for his wine glass. The contact sent little thrills through me that I hadn't felt in years. When the waiter brought Simon's birthday cake, Kellen insisted on taking photos. "Get closer together," he directed, positioning himself behind my chair. His hands rested on my shoulders as he leaned down to get in the frame. "Perfect. You two look amazing." But when I looked at Simon, his face was stone. The muscle in his jaw twitched the way it did when he was furious, but trying to control himself. "I think we should head home," Simon said abruptly, signaling for the check. "Already?" I protested. "The night's still young." "Laya has school tomorrow and I have an early meeting." Kellen squeezed my shoulder. "Well, we'll have to do this again soon. Maybe just the three of us next time. More intimate." The ride home was silent except for the radio's soft jazz. Simon's hands gripped the steering wheel, his knuckles still white. I stared out the window, replaying every moment of Kellen's attention. The way he'd looked at me like I was fascinating. The way he'd made me feel seen. He was just being friendly, I said finally, breaking the suffocating quiet. Simon's laugh was bitter. Friendly, right. What's that supposed to mean? Nothing, Evie. Absolutely nothing. But it wasn't nothing. I could feel his anger radiating across the car's interior, like heat from a furnace. When we got home, Simon went straight to our bedroom and returned with a pillow and blanket. "What are you doing?" "Sleeping on the couch." My heart hammered. In 8 years of marriage, Simon had never slept anywhere but our bed. "You're being ridiculous. He's your friend." "Was my friend." Simon's voice was flat, emotionless. "Good night, Evie." I stood in the hallway, watching him arrange the blanket on our leather sofa. This was crazy. I hadn't done anything wrong. Kellen had been charming and attentive, yes, but that wasn't my fault. If Simon couldn't handle his wife receiving compliments from other men, that was his insecurity talking. Wasn't it? The next morning, I found Simon already dressed for work, sitting at the kitchen table with his laptop and a cup of coffee. He didn't look up when I entered. "Good morning," I said, trying to inject normalcy into my voice. "Morning." Our 7-year-old daughter Leia bounced into the kitchen, her school backpack already strapped on. "Daddy, why were you sleeping on the couch?" My stomach clenched. "Daddy just fell asleep watching TV, sweetheart." Simon's eyes met mine for the first time since last night. They were cold, calculating. "That's right, Leia. Sometimes adults make choices that have consequences." The double meaning wasn't lost on me. "Simon, can we talk privately?" "I have to get Leia to school. We'll talk later." But later never came. Simon worked late, claiming a client emergency. When he finally came home, he spoke only to Leia, helping her with homework and reading her bedtime stories. With me, he was polite but distant, like I was a stranger he was forced to share living space with. By Wednesday, I couldn't take it anymore. "This is insane," I said as he prepared to sleep on the couch again. "You're punishing me for something I didn't do." "What exactly didn't you do, Evee?" The question caught me off guard. I didn't do anything inappropriate. Kellen was being nice." "Nice?" Simon nodded slowly. "Is that what you call it when a man puts his hands all over another man's wife?" "He wasn't all over me. God, you're being so paranoid." "Am I?" Simon pulled out his phone and showed me a photo from the restaurant. In it, Kellen's hand was clearly visible on my thigh, his face inches from mine as he whispered something in my ear. I didn't even remember him taking the picture. My face burned. "That looks worse than it was. He was just telling me about the dessert special." "For 5 minutes? With his hand on your leg? You're twisting everything." I could hear my voice getting shrill, but I couldn't stop myself. "Maybe if you paid half as much attention to me as your friend does, we wouldn't have this problem." Simon's expression didn't change. "So, this is my fault." I didn't say that. I just said, "Look, I can't help it if other men find me attractive. That doesn't mean I'm doing anything wrong." "Other men?" Simon closed his laptop with deliberate precision. "How many other men, Evie?" "That's not what I meant, and you know it." But doubt flickered in his eyes, and I realized my words had revealed more than I intended. There weren't other men, not really. Just Kellen, and the way he made me feel like I was worth something more than gratitude and obligation. Thursday morning, Helen called while I was getting ready for work. "Evie, we need to talk." "I'm running late, Helen. Can this wait?" "No, it cannot wait. What happened at dinner was completely inappropriate, and I want to know what you intend to do about it." My hands shook as I applied mascara. "I don't know what you mean." "Don't lie to me, young lady. I saw how you were flirting with that man right in front of your husband, right in front of your family." "I wasn't flirting. I was being polite to Simon's friend." "Polite women don't let strange men pour them at dinner tables." "He wasn't pouring me." But even as I said it, I remembered the weight of his hand on my knee, the way I'd leaned into his touch instead of pulling away. Simon is a good man, Helen continued, her voice stern. He brought you to this country, gave you citizenship, a home, a family, and this is how you repay him. Anger flared in my chest. I don't owe Simon my entire life because he married me. I'm not his property. No, but you are his wife, and wives who respect their marriages don't behave the way you did. I hung up on her, my hands trembling with rage. Who was she to judge me? She'd never been trapped in a predictable marriage with a man who saw her as a charity case. She'd never felt invisible, taken for granted, reduced to nothing more than a grateful immigrant who should be thankful for scraps of attention. That afternoon, I called my sister Lauren. Unlike Helen, Lauren understood me. She'd seen how Simon could be. Controlling, possessive, always assuming he knew what was best for everyone. Helen called you. Lauren's voice was incredulous. That woman has some nerve. What happens between you and Simon is none of her business. Thank you. Finally, someone with sense. Honestly, Evee, I don't know why you put up with his family. They act like you should be grateful for every breath you take. That's exactly how I feel. And now, Simon's acting like I committed some terrible crime because his friend paid attention to me. Men hate it when other men notice their wives. It threatens their ego. But you didn't do anything wrong, sweetie. If Simon can't handle having an attractive wife, that's his problem. Lauren's words were like balm on a wound. She was right. I hadn't done anything wrong. If Kellen found me interesting and attractive, that wasn't my fault. If Simon felt threatened by that, maybe he should examine why he'd let our marriage become so stale and predictable. That night, I tried one more time to reach my husband. Simon, I think we should see a counselor. He looked up from the notebook he was writing in. Why? Because we're not communicating. You're making assumptions about my behavior and I feel like you don't trust me. Trust. He set down his pen. Do you think I should trust you, Evee? Of course, I'm your wife. My wife who lets other men touch her. My wife who flirts in front of our daughter. My wife who hung up on my mother when she tried to discuss her concerns. Your mother was out of line. Was she? Simon closed the notebook, but not before I caught a glimpse of dates and times written in his neat handwriting. Or was she just pointing out what everyone else at that table could see? A chill ran down my spine. What are you writing in that notebook? Nothing that concerns you. But it did concern me, because suddenly I realized that while I'd been focused on justifying my behavior, Simon had been documenting it, and that scared me more than I wanted to admit. Sunday dinner at Simon's parents' house had always been a command performance, but this week felt different. Helen's disapproving glances were sharper, Martin's attempts at small talk more forced. Even Laia seemed to sense the tension, staying close to Simon's side instead of running around the backyard like usual. Evee, Helen said as we cleared the dishes, I'd like to speak with you privately. My stomach dropped, but I followed her into the study. Helen closed the door and turned to face me, her expression stern. I want to know if you're having an affair. The direct question hit me like a slap. What? Helen, It's a simple question. Are you cheating on my son? No, God, no, how can you even ask me that? Because I have eyes, Evee. I saw how you acted with that man, and I see how you're treating Simon now, like he's the villain for being upset about it. Heat flooded my face. Simon is overreacting. Kellen is his friend. We were just talking. With his hands all over you. He wasn't... I stopped, took a breath. Look, I understand you're protective of Simon, but you're seeing things that aren't there. Helen's laugh was sharp. Am I? Then explain to me why my son is sleeping on the couch. Explain why he looks like a broken man. Explain why you're defending a stranger instead of fighting for your marriage. Kellen isn't a stranger, and I'm not defending him. I'm defending myself against false accusations. False. Helen nodded slowly. So, if I called this Kellen right now and asked him about his intentions toward you, he'd say he has none. My mouth went dry. That's ridiculous. You can't just call people and... I can do whatever I need to do to protect my family. Helen stepped closer. You came to this country with nothing. Simon gave you everything: citizenship, security, a home, a beautiful daughter. And now you're throwing it all away for what? Some excitement, some attention from a man who sees you as an easy target. That's not what this is about. Isn't it? Because from where I stand, it looks like you've forgotten how good you have it, and that makes you dangerous to my son's happiness. I left the study shaking with anger and humiliation. Helen's words echoed in my head as I rejoined the family in the living room. Simon was reading to Laia, his voice gentle and patient. When he looked up at me, I saw something new in his expression, pity mixed with disappointment. Ready to go? I asked, my voice tight. The ride home was silent again. Laia fell asleep in her car seat, and I stared out the window, replaying the conversation with Helen. She was wrong about Kellen. He wasn't targeting me, he was just available, present, interested in what I had to say. That night, after Laia was in bed and Simon had retreated to the couch with his notebook, my phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. Hey, it's Kellen. Got your number from the old college group chat. Hope that's okay. Had such a great time at dinner. We should grab coffee sometime and catch up properly. I stared at the message, my heart racing. It was innocent enough, just coffee between friends. But I could hear Helen's voice in my head, see Simon's suspicious glances. Without thinking, I deleted the message. But not before screenshotting it first. I told myself it was just in case I needed proof later that Kellen's intentions were innocent. Just coffee between friends, nothing more. The next morning, Simon was gone before I woke up. He'd left a note saying he had early meetings all week and would be working late. The message was clear. He was avoiding me. At work, I found myself distracted, checking my phone constantly for messages that didn't come. My colleague Dina noticed my mood during our lunch break. You look terrible, she said bluntly. What's going on? Dina was recently divorced, having left her husband after 15 years of what she called soul-crushing boredom. If anyone would understand my situation, it was her. Simon and I are having problems. About time, Dina said, taking a bite of her salad. I've been waiting for you to realize you deserve better. What do you mean? Come on, Evee. You're young, beautiful, intelligent, and you're married to a man who treats you like you should be grateful he even looks at you. When's the last time he surprised you? Took you somewhere exciting? Made you feel like the amazing woman you are? I couldn't remember. Our last vacation had been a long weekend at his parents' lake house. Our last romantic dinner had been... I honestly couldn't recall. There's this guy, I said slowly. Simon's friend. He's been... attentive. Dina's eyes lit up. Attentive how? Just friendly. Complimentary. He makes me feel interesting. And Simon's jealous. Ridiculously so. He's sleeping on the couch, barely speaking to me. His mother thinks I'm having an affair. Are you? The question hung in the air between us. No, of course not. But you want to be. Did I? The thought of Kellen's hands on me, of feeling desired and wanted instead of merely tolerated, sent heat through my body. I just want to feel alive again, I whispered. Dina reached across the table and squeezed my hand. Then do something about it. Life's too short to waste on men who don't appreciate what they have. That afternoon, I found myself typing a response to Kellen's deleted message. Just something casual, friendly. But before I could send it, my phone rang. Mrs. Merrow, this is Jennifer from Dr. Patterson's office. We need to reschedule your appointment for Thursday. I'm sorry, what appointment? Your dental cleaning. Your husband called and said you had a conflict. I frowned. I don't have a dental appointment scheduled. There was a pause. Oh, well, he seemed quite certain. Said you'd been complaining about tooth pain and needed to see Dr. Patterson urgently. After I hung up, Confusion swirled in my mind. Why would Simon call a dentist I'd never been to? Why would he lie about me having an appointment? Unless he was testing me, setting a trap to see what I'd do with unexpected free time. The realization sent chills down my spine. My husband wasn't just documenting my behavior, he was actively investigating me, and that meant he suspected far more than he was letting on. That night, as Simon prepared his makeshift bed on the couch, I tried once more to bridge the gap between us. Simon, I know things have been tense, but we can work through this. He looked at me for a long moment. Can we, Evie? Because I'm not sure we're even talking about the same problem. What do you mean? I mean, you think this is about one dinner, one night of inappropriate behavior, but I think it's about something much bigger. My heart hammered. Like what? Like the fact that you've been lying to me for months. Like the fact that you delete messages from your phone. Like the fact that you think I'm too stupid to notice. The blood drained from my face. I don't know what you're talking about. Simon smiled, but there was no warmth in it. Don't you? He knew. Somehow he knew about the deleted text, maybe about others I'd forgotten about. The careful documentation in his notebook suddenly made terrifying sense. Simon, I can explain. Can you? Because I'd love to hear how you explain away months of deception. It's not deception. It's nothing. Just silly messages that didn't mean anything. If they didn't mean anything, why delete them? I had no answer for that, because the truth was, I'd deleted them because they did mean something. They meant someone found me interesting enough to text. Someone thought I was worth pursuing. I think, Simon said quietly, we both know exactly where we stand now. As he turned off the lights and settled onto the couch, I realized he was right. The game had changed, and I was no longer controlling the rules. The fake dental appointment haunted me all week. Every time Simon asked about my day, I wondered if he was testing me, waiting for me to slip up. The paranoia was exhausting, but not enough to stop me from responding when Kellen texted again. Coffee offer still stands. I know a great little place downtown. Very discreet. The word discreet sent a thrill through me. It implied secrets, intimacy, something forbidden. I found myself typing back before I could stop myself. Thursday afternoon. I have some free time. We arranged to meet at Grind Coffee, a small cafe in the Arts District that I'd never been to before. I told Dina I had a dentist appointment, the lie coming easily now, and left work early. Kellen was already waiting when I arrived, sitting in a corner booth with 2 cups of coffee. He stood when he saw me, that easy smile spreading across his face. Evie, you look incredible. I'd changed clothes 3 times that morning, finally settling on a blue dress that showed off my figure without being too obvious. Thank you. You clean up pretty well yourself. We talked for 2 hours, about everything and nothing. He told me about his divorce, how his ex-wife had grown cold and distant over the years. I found myself sharing things about my marriage that I'd never said out loud before. Simon's a good man, I said, but sometimes I feel like he sees me as this grateful refugee he rescued, like I should be thankful for whatever scraps of attention he gives me. Kellen leaned forward, his hand covering mine on the table. You deserve so much more than that. You're intelligent, beautiful, fascinating. Any man would be lucky to have your attention. The touch of his skin against mine sent electricity up my arm. When was the last time Simon had told me I was fascinating? I should go, I said, but I didn't move my hand. Should you? Or do you feel like you should because that's what's expected of you? The question hit deeper than he probably intended. How much of my life was built on what was expected of me? The grateful wife, the devoted mother, the woman who never asked for more than she was given. I don't know anymore, I whispered. Kellen's thumb traced across my knuckles. Maybe it's time to figure out what you want, instead of what everyone else wants for you. When I finally left the cafe, my head was spinning. Kellen had walked me to my car, his hand resting on the small of my back. At the driver's door, he'd leaned down and kissed my cheek, lingering just long enough to make it feel like more than a friendly goodbye. "I meant what I said in there," he murmured against my ear. "You deserve everything, Evee. Don't let anyone convince you otherwise." The drive home was a blur of guilt and excitement. I'd crossed a line, maybe not physically, but emotionally. The intimacy of our conversation, the way he'd touched me, the promise in his eyes when he said goodbye. It was more than friendship, and we both knew it. Simon was in the kitchen when I got home, helping Laya with her math homework. He looked up when I entered, his eyes scanning my face. "How was the dentist?" My heart skipped. "Fine. Just a cleaning." "Dr. Patterson's office?" The specific question caught me off guard. "Yes. Why?" "Just curious. They called here looking for you. Said you'd missed your appointment." The blood drained from my face. I'd been so focused on meeting Kellen that I'd forgotten about Simon's fake appointment setup. Now I was trapped in a lie within a lie. There must have been some confusion. I was definitely there. Simon's expression didn't change. Well, these things happen." But I could see the wheels turning behind his eyes. He knew I was lying, and now he knew that I knew he was testing me. The pretense of normalcy was crumbling, and we were both watching it happen. That night, I lay in bed alone, staring at the ceiling. Down the hall, I could hear Simon moving around in his home office. The sound of papers shuffling, drawers opening and closing. He was building a case against me, documenting every lie, every inconsistency. The smart thing would be to come clean, confess to the coffee meeting, explain that nothing physical had happened, beg for forgiveness and counseling. But the memory of Kellen's words echoed in my head. "You deserve everything." Did I? Or was I just a selfish woman throwing away a good life for the thrill of feeling wanted? Friday morning brought another text from Kellen. "Thank you for yesterday. You're even more amazing than I remembered. Can't wait to see you again." I stared at the message, my thumb hovering over the delete button. But instead of erasing it, I found myself typing back, "I had a wonderful time too." The response was immediate. "Good, because I have an idea for our next adventure." Adventure. The word made my pulse quicken. When had my life become so devoid of adventure that a simple text message could make me feel this alive? At work, Dina noticed my improved mood immediately. "You look like a woman with a secret," she said with a knowing smile. "I don't know what you mean." "Sure you don't. Let me guess. You took my advice about that attentive friend." I couldn't deny it, and apparently my face gave me away because Dina laughed. "Good for you. It's about time you did something for yourself." "We just had coffee." It's not like what? Like you're a grown woman who deserves to feel appreciated. Like you have every right to enjoy male attention when your husband treats you like furniture." Her words were like permission I didn't know I needed. It felt good, I admitted, to be seen as interesting instead of just useful. "That's because you are interesting. Simon's just too comfortable to notice anymore." When I got home that evening, Simon was waiting in the kitchen with his laptop open and a stack of papers beside him. "We need to talk," he said. My stomach clenched. "About what?" "About where you really were yesterday afternoon." The moment I'd been dreading had arrived. I could come clean now, minimize the damage, try to save my marriage, or I could double down on the lies and see where this dangerous game led. "I told you. The dentist." Simon nodded slowly, then turned his laptop screen toward me. On it was a credit card statement, with yesterday's charge at Grind Coffee highlighted in yellow. "Expensive dental work," he said quietly. The evidence was right there in black and white. No way to explain it away, no room for creative interpretation. I'd been caught, and we both knew it. "Simon, I can explain." "Can you?" "Because I'd love to hear how a coffee purchase at 3:47 p.m. turns into a dental appointment." My mind raced. searching for any plausible explanation. I stopped for coffee after the appointment. I was upset about needing work done and— Stop! Simon's voice cut through my desperate lie. Just stop. He closed the laptop and looked at me with something that might have been disappointment or might have been pity. I know about Kellen, he said simply. The words hung in the air between us like a death sentence. There was no point in denying it anymore, no clever explanation that would make this go away. Nothing happened, I said weakly. Something happened, Evie. Maybe not what you're thinking of, but something happened, and we both know it. Before I could respond, the doorbell rang. Simon stood up, his movements calm and deliberate. That'll be for you, he said. Confusion flooded through me. What? The process server. I filed for divorce this morning. The words hit me like a physical blow. You what? Emergency custody hearing is Monday. I'll be taking Laya to my parents' house tonight. Simon, wait, you can't just— But he was already walking toward the front door, leaving me standing in the kitchen with the ruins of my marriage scattered around me like broken glass. The game was over, and I had lost everything. The process server was a middle-aged woman with kind eyes and an apologetic smile. She handed me the papers with practiced efficiency, explaining my rights and the timeline for response. Her words sounded like they were coming from underwater. Emergency custody hearing? I managed to ask. Monday morning, 9 a.m. You'll want to get an attorney. After she left, I stood in my foyer, holding the divorce petition, my hands shaking so badly I could barely read the words. Irreconcilable differences. Breakdown of the marriage. Request for primary custody of minor child. Simon emerged from Laya's room carrying her overnight bag. Our daughter followed behind him, her face confused and scared. Mummy, why am I going to Grandma's on a school night? I knelt down to her level, trying to keep my voice steady. Daddy just wants you to have a sleepover. You love staying at Grandma and Grandpa's. But Laya wasn't stupid. At 7, she could sense the tension that had been building in our house for weeks. She looked between Simon and me, her lower lip trembling. Are you and Daddy getting divorced like Emma's parents? The innocent question shattered what was left of my composure. Sweetheart, Daddy and I are just— We need some time to work things out. That's what Emma's mom said. Then her daddy moved away. Simon picked up Laya's bag, his jaw set in that familiar line of determination. Come on, princess. Grandma's making your favorite cookies. As they headed toward the door, Laya broke away and ran back to me. She wrapped her small arms around my waist, squeezing tight. I love you, Mummy. I love you too, baby. So much. Over her head, I met Simon's eyes. For just a moment, the mask slipped, and I saw the pain he'd been hiding behind all that cold calculation. This was hurting him too, but he was doing it anyway. We'll talk tomorrow, he said quietly. Simon, please, don't do this. We can fix— No. The word was final. We can't. After they left, I called Lauren in a panic. Simon filed for divorce. He's trying to take Laya away from me. What? He can't do that. You're her mother. He has evidence about Kellen, about me lying to him. There was a pause. Evidence of what, exactly? Coffee dates, text messages. Nothing physical happened, but it looks bad. Evie, please tell me you weren't stupid enough to leave a paper trail. The accusation in her voice stung. I thought I was being careful. I deleted most of the messages. Most of them? My stomach sank as I realized what I'd admitted. There might be a few I forgot about. Jesus, Evie. What were you thinking? That was the question, wasn't it? What had I been thinking? That I could have my cake and eat it too? That I could pursue excitement with Kellen while keeping my comfortable life with Simon? I was thinking that I deserved to feel wanted, I said defensively, and now you might lose your daughter because of it. The harsh reality of Lauren's words hit me like a slap. In my quest to feel alive and appreciated, I'd put my relationship with Laya at risk. the one thing that mattered more than my own happiness. Saturday morning, I hired Rebecca Martinez, a divorce attorney recommended by a colleague. She was sharp, professional, and expensive. After reviewing the divorce petition, her expression was grim. "He's alleging adultery," she said bluntly, "but I didn't. Legally, it doesn't matter if you had sex. Emotional affairs count too, especially when there's evidence of deception and secret meetings." She spread out copies of what Simon's lawyer had already filed. Credit card statements showing charges at restaurants and coffee shops. Phone records highlighting frequent calls and texts to Kellen's number. Even photos from the birthday dinner showing Kellen's hands on me. "How did he get all this?" I asked. "He's been documenting your behavior for months. This wasn't a spur-of-the-moment decision. He's been building a case." The methodical nature of Simon's investigation was almost scarier than the divorce itself. While I'd been playing games and testing boundaries, he'd been quietly gathering evidence like the IT consultant he was. Thorough, systematic, devastating. "What about custody?" I asked. Rebecca's expression grew even more serious. "That's going to be the real battle. He's claiming you're an unfit mother due to your extramarital relationship and pattern of deception." "That's ridiculous. I would never do anything to hurt Laya." "But you did, didn't you? You put your marriage at risk, which directly impacts your daughter's stability and security." The truth of her words was like a knife to the chest. In my selfishness, I had hurt Laya, not intentionally, but the result was the same. Monday morning's emergency hearing was a nightmare. Simon sat across the courtroom with his attorney, looking calm and prepared. He'd brought documentation of everything, my lies about whereabouts, the deleted messages, even a recording of a phone conversation where I'd told Lauren that Simon was boring and didn't appreciate me. "Your Honor," his attorney said, "Mrs. Miro has demonstrated a pattern of deception and prioritizing her extramarital relationship over her family's well-being. Mr. Miro is simply trying to protect their daughter from further instability." My attorney fought back, arguing that I was a devoted mother who'd made some poor choices, but posed no danger to Laya. But the evidence was overwhelming, and I could see the judge's disapproval in her expression. "Temporary custody will remain with the father," she ruled. "Supervised visitation for the mother, pending full hearing in 30 days. Supervised visitation. Like I was a criminal who couldn't be trusted alone with my own daughter. As we left the courthouse, Simon's attorney handed Rebecca a thick envelope. "Additional evidence," he said simply. That afternoon, Rebecca called me to her office. Her face was pale as she spread out the contents of the envelope. "Evie, I need to ask you something, and I need you to be completely honest with me." "Okay." "Have you ever been to Kellen Drake's apartment?" My heart stopped. "What?" "Because we have GPS data from your phone showing multiple visits to his address. We have security footage of him dropping you off at your house late at night. And we have his sworn affidavit admitting to an inappropriate relationship with you." The room spun around me. "He gave them an affidavit?" "Full confession. Says you pursued him, that you complained about your marriage, that you initiated the emotional affair." Betrayal crashed over me in waves. Kellen had thrown me under the bus to save himself. All his talk about me deserving better, about being fascinating and amazing. It had all been manipulation to get what he wanted. "There's more," Rebecca continued. "Audio recordings of you admitting to your sister that you were attracted to him and considering leaving Simon." I remembered that conversation. I'd been upset after another fight with Simon, and I'd called Lauren for support. I'd said things I didn't mean, vented frustrations that sounded much worse out of context. "They have everything," I whispered. "Everything," Rebecca confirmed. "The question now is whether you want to fight this or negotiate the best settlement you can get." Fight with what? Simon had been 3 steps ahead of me the entire time, documenting every lie, every poor choice, every moment of weakness. I'd walked into his trap so completely that I'd never even seen the walls closing in. What would a settlement look like? Minimal custody, probably every other weekend supervised for the first year. Limited alimony since the marriage dissolution was due to your infidelity. He keeps the house, the cars, most of the assets. Everything I'd built over 8 years, gone. The life Simon had given me when I had nothing, destroyed by my own selfishness and stupidity. I need to think about it, I said, but really, there was nothing to think about. Simon had won completely, and we both knew it. The only question now was how much more I was willing to lose before I admitted defeat. 3 weeks later, I sat in the conference room at Thornton and Associates, watching my life get dissected by lawyers and judges. The formal divorce hearing had all the warmth of a business transaction, which I suppose it was. The dissolution of Miro versus Miro, with assets, custody, and futures hanging in the balance. Simon sat across from me in his best suit, looking every inch the wronged husband. His attorney, David Thornton, was a silver-haired man with the kind of reputation that costs serious money. My own lawyer, Rebecca, had prepared me for the worst, but seeing the evidence laid out in such clinical detail was still devastating. Your Honor, Thornton began, my client has provided comprehensive documentation of Mrs. Miro's extramarital affair and systematic deception of the family court. He gestured to boxes of evidence that seemed to contain my entire life for the past 6 months. Phone records, credit card statements, GPS data, photographs, audio recordings. Simon had been more thorough than any private investigator. Mr. Miro discovered his wife's infidelity through her increasingly suspicious behavior and took the responsible step of documenting the evidence before confronting her. Judge Patricia Wells was a stern woman in her 60s who'd clearly seen every variation of marital dissolution. She flipped through the evidence with practiced efficiency, her expression growing more disapproving with each page. Mrs. Martinez, she said to my attorney, does your client dispute any of these facts? Rebecca stood up, straightening her jacket. Your Honor, while Mrs. Miro acknowledges poor judgment in her relationship with Mr. Drake, she maintains that no physical adultery occurred and that she remains a devoted mother who should not be denied custody of her daughter. Poor judgment. Thornton's voice carried just the right note of incredulity. Your Honor, Mrs. Miro conducted a months-long emotional affair involving secret meetings, intimate communications, and deliberate deception of her husband and family. In court, Thornton read out my own words about Simon being boring and not appreciating me, then laid out every lie I'd told, fake dental appointments, secret coffee dates, deleted texts. Hearing it all in front of the judge made me sound like a cold, calculating stranger. Then, Kellen took the stand and twisted our story to protect himself, painting me as the one who chased him and talked about divorce. Judge Wells ruled that Simon would keep full custody, the house, and most of the assets, while I got supervised visits twice a month, limited alimony, mandatory counseling, and a court order to cut all contact with Kellen. Simon told me he hadn't set me up, only documented what I was already doing and given me chances to tell the truth, which I never took. 6 months later, living in a small apartment and counting down to my 2 supervised hours with Laya, I got a text from a new guy asking me out for coffee. For the first time, I understood exactly what that path led to, and I deleted the message without replying, finally realizing some attention is far too expensive.